This is actually kind of the first time that I've been honest. Besides being honest, with my attorneys. Even that, I haven't been completely honest with them.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story has been presented as one of resilience, survival, and breaking free from abuse. Yet, beneath the surface of public sympathy lies a far more unsettling reality. While the world sees her as a victim or even a hero, the deeper truth reveals a calculated manipulator who skillfully used the justice system, the media, and public sentiment to her advantage. This isn't merely a tale of a young woman escaping oppression. It's a chilling account of how Gypsy turned crime into opportunity, leaving chaos and injustice in her wake. Far from being a passive victim, Gypsy's actions demonstrate careful planning, calculated schemes, and a willingness to manipulate those around her to get what she wanted. Her narrative as a powerless daughter, controlled by her mother, falls apart when you examine her deliberate and methodical behavior. Gypsy didn't just rewrite her story, she orchestrated a series of events that left others to bear the ultimate consequences. Her journey began with smaller schemes, but as her desperation grew, so did the complexity of her plans.
At some point, you decided to kill your mother, is that correct?
Yes,
When was that?
thoughts of it started.
Plan A was straightforward. She aimed to introduce her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, to her mother in a neutral setting. Gypsy staged their meeting at a screening of Cinderella, a symbolic choice reflecting her desire to escape her oppressive life. However, the plan backfired when Didi Blanchard, her mother, was unimpressed and found Nicholas unsettling. A grown man attending a Disney movie alone? Instead of softening Didi's stance, the meeting only made her tighten her control over Gypsy.
A year prior to the murder actually happening.
Whose idea was it to kill your mother?
Mine.
Why did you want to kill your mother?
Because I wanted to be free of her hold on me.
When Plan A failed, Gypsy shifted gears to Plan C, a bolder and riskier move. She decided to fake a pregnancy with Nicholas's child, believing this would force her mother to accept their relationship. Gypsy went as far as stealing baby clothes to support the illusion, a move that showcased her audacity and determination to manipulate reality to fit her narrative. However, this plan also collapsed when Nicholas's mother refused to support their dream of domestic life. With her earlier attempts unsuccessful, Gypsy devised Plan B, a chilling and final step to secure her freedom. This wasn't just a desperate act, but a calculated decision that she executed with precision. Gypsy concluded that the only way to escape her mother's control was to have her eliminated, and she manipulated Nicholas into carrying out the murder. Gypsy's preparation for the crime was disturbingly thorough. She didn't merely suggest the idea, she actively worked to make it happen.
I want to basically let everyone know that I'm not just this cold killer that doesn't have feelings or anything else like that. I'm a human being. And as they say, human beings make mistakes. One of the obvious ones was I would have probably ran away with Gypsy.
She stole a knife from Walmart, a store where she had honed her skills in petty theft, and coordinated with Nicholas to establish a signal, a series of knocks and scratches to let him know it was time to act. While Nicholas carried out the murder in the next room, Gypsy stayed in the bathroom, covering her ears to block out the sounds of her mother's final moments.
These revelations challenge the narrative of Gypsy as a helpless victim. Instead, they expose a woman who carefully planned and executed her escape, regardless of the cost to those around her. As the details of her schemes emerge, the story becomes less about survival and more about manipulation, leaving a dark and lasting impression on those who thought they understood the case. This isn't just a story of liberation. It's a complex, haunting tale of deception and calculated choices. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's cold and calculating actions after her mother's murder have left many shocked.
Definitely would have done that because I don't want to be stained with a murder on my hands. I don't want to be stained with that. Labeled as a killer. I don't want to stay with that, but I'll live with it.
The moment it all went down, Gypsy didn't panic or show remorse. Instead, she sat there, fully aware of what was happening, and when the deed was done, she jumped straight into action. Gypsy didn't hesitate to help Nicholas clean up the scene, and even went as far as mailing the weapon back to his home to cover their tracks. Her calm demeanor wasn't from fear, but from control. She dictated every move, pushing Nicholas further into her plan, ensuring no evidence was left behind. This wasn't the behavior of a terrified girl trapped in a nightmare. It was the calculated precision of someone who knew exactly what she was doing.
I don't associate myself as a murderer. If you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help, but he's the one that did the actual kill, not me. So when they say I'm a murderer, I don't.
All the way down to the smallest detail. This wasn't an impulsive act. It was part of a twisted plan that Gypsy had meticulously crafted. Behind her crimes wasn't desperation, but a deep-rooted sense of entitlement, a desire for freedom, and a disturbing fantasy that she had nurtured over time. Gypsy didn't just dream of escaping her life. She meticulously built a world where she and Nicholas could act out increasingly dark and dangerous fantasies.
Identify as that. Let me live my life. Let me reinvent myself. Give me a chance. Because before I didn't even have that chance to begin with. So let me show you guys who I am as a person before you just start slapping labels on.
She crafted multiple personas, including Ruby, her evil side, Kitty, the childlike persona, and a hybrid of werewolf and human. These weren't random quirks, they were tools to manipulate and control Nicholas, pulling him deeper into her delusions and making him feel like he was playing into a larger narrative she'd constructed. Gypsy didn't just go along with Nicholas's fantasies, she embraced them and used them to further her own agenda. The so-called master-slave dynamic, which Gypsy claimed she participated in reluctantly, was a ruse. In reality, she was fully involved, controlling the narrative with enthusiasm and precision. Each conversation, each text, and every interaction was a countermove for every interaction on a slave diamond.
Me and Nick were talking one night, and he said that he would do anything to protect me. And I asked him anything, and he said, yeah. From anybody, he's
incredible. As their fantasies escalated, they shifted from playful role-playing to detailed, disturbing discussions about murder. Gypsy fed Nicholas's delusions, steering him toward the horrific endgame she had in mind. While Nicholas ultimately carried out the murder, Gypsy was there every step of the way, manipulating him into action and ensuring the plan unfolded exactly as she had envisioned. She wasn't a passive participant. She was the architect of the crime. Afterward, instead of showing remorse, Gypsy carefully crafted a web of lies to protect herself.
I said, yeah. And even my mom, he said, yes. And that's when this kind of plan started to develop of a murder plot.
She took her mother's stolen money, using it to plan their escape, and mailed the murder weapon to Nicholas's home, thinking it would cover their tracks. But the most chilling part came after the crime, a Facebook post written in the wake of her mother's death. Gypsy baldly claimed that B is dead, and followed it with disturbing details about the murder, even going as far as describing her actions with graphic language. She later claimed she posted it to ensure her mother's body was found, but it's clear that this was more of a performance than a confession, an attempt to manipulate the narrative before authorities could even investigate.
Who planned this murder?
I did.
Did Nick do any of the planning in this murder?
He may have had one or two.
Do you know what plans he provided?
He decided.
Throughout the entire aftermath, what stood out the most was Gypsy's demeanor. While Nicholas was breaking down, overcome with tears and guilt about what had just transpired, Gypsy remained chillingly calm, cool, and composed. Instead of showing any fear or regret, she confidently boasted to the detectives about her life, her travels, and even name-dropped VIP moments. leaving everyone around her stunned by her audacity. Her composure was not the result of shock or remorse, but rather the calculated charm of someone who had rehearsed every word, prepared every excuse, and knew exactly how to manipulate the situation to her advantage.
What the weapon would be?
Have you discussed alternative methods of killing your mother?
Yes.
What other alternatives have you considered?
Poison, arson, a gun.
Why did you not consider poison?
Gypsy had often been portrayed as a naive, sheltered young woman, someone who had suffered under the control of her overbearing mother. But her actions after the crime told a much darker story, one of deliberate deception and cold, unfeeling calculation. This wasn't a woman desperate for help. This was a woman who knew exactly how to manipulate everyone around her to get what she wanted. Her calmness, while Nicholas fell apart, spoke volumes. She carefully crafted her narrative, playing the victim and downplaying her role in the crime, even going as far as to push the blame onto Nicholas. In her interviews, Gypsy painted herself as a reluctant participant in the crime, emphasizing her supposed fear of her mother and playing up the abuse narrative to elicit sympathy. She even invoked her medical needs, ensuring that the image of a helpless, innocent woman remained intact. But what was truly telling was how she completely omitted her own pivotal role in orchestrating the crime.
It was too hard to find an odorless, tasteless poison.
Why didn't you kill your mother?
I didn't believe I could do it.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
I don't like blood. I don't like the sight of blood. Frankly, I'm too squeamish. So I just honestly didn't believe I could do it on my own.
Gypsy didn't just manipulate Nicholas, she manipulated the entire system. From her poised public appearances to her meticulously crafted statements, every word was designed to make her look like the victim and deflect the blame onto Nicholas. And for the most part, it worked. Gypsy was released from prison, and many hoped she would take the time to reflect on her actions and work toward genuine rehabilitation. Instead, what the world got was a masterclass in image control, a media tour designed to reshape her into a misunderstood celebrity. Gypsy wasted no time capitalizing on her newfound fame. She appeared in multiple interviews, her voice carefully measured and her demeanor polished. She cried when it suited her narrative, laughed when it was convenient, and played the role of a reformed woman to perfection. But as Gypsy's media tour continued, the cracks in her story started to show. She downplayed her involvement in the crime, insisting that she didn't identify as a murderer, constantly shifting the blame onto Nicholas. In every interview, she left out the key details of how she meticulously planned the crime, from stealing the knife to mailing it back to Nicholas's home. It was a deliberate attempt to rewrite the narrative and cast herself as the victim, making it clear she had no intention of taking accountability for her actions. Behind the scenes, Gypsy's behavior only reinforced this manipulative image. Her newfound fame didn't bring with it any humility. Instead, she used it to flaunt her manipulative tendencies. She showcased her new marriage, posting pictures and videos online. But the relationship quickly ended in scandal. She moved from one relationship to the next, each time portraying herself as the wronged party, never taking responsibility for the mess she created. In her diary, she wrote that many lives are lost. Decisions are made based on inexplicable factions. It wasn't until that fortune turns out differently that she realizes just how much truth is never truly served. There was no justice for Nicholas, the media, and the public, but at what cost? Justice was never truly served. There was no justice for Nicholas, no justice for her mother, and certainly no justice for the truth. And that's a wrap on today's deep dive into Gypsy Rose's twisted story. What do you think? Was she really the victim? Or was she just a master manipulator all along? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this as dropping as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss out on the latest stories. This one's far from over, and I'll be here to keep breaking it all down for you. Until next time, stay tuned and stay curious.